Bullying, to me, is any form that you try to use to exert your dominance and your presence over somebody else.
I grew up in Western North Carolina in a small town about 45 minutes northeast of Asheville.
It was hard at times being different and being poor and living in a small town.
I could try to hang out with some of the black kids and they'd be like, oh, you come from a different area, you live in a different area of town, you're light-skinned, you don't exactly belong with this group, you act white. And then I'd try to hang out the white kids, and it's like, well, you're not exactly like us either.
He absorbed everything. He was incredibly intelligent. And for the most part, that we knew, he got along with everybody.
As a child, I had a lot of allergies that messed up my digestive system, and so I would have issues at school.
There was this boy I kind of had like this crush on, and he was kind of a little bit of a bully. He was like the class clown, always, cracked jokes and made fun of this other boy who, used to claim he was gay, and so he teased him all the time.
When I was probably first grade, I had an accident, and this one girl went back into the classroom and told everybody in the classroom what had happened, and then from that point on, every other day they used to talk to me about or call me names about it.
Michael loved school. He loved to learn, and he loved making friends. He was incredibly smart, straight A's, never struggled. There was no noticing it getting heavier or serious before it was too late.
I can't remember if it was kindergarten or first grade or something like that. And I used to get called Blanco all the time, just because I was the only white kid in the class, so...
People don't think children know things and don't think that they understand their feelings, but they do. They really do. And so the other children noticed that I wasn't hanging out with boys as much as I was hanging out with the girls, and they noticed that I was different as much as I noticed that I was different at that time.
Because I liked this one boy, I think I kind of ended up joining in on it, just to kind of be on his side to get him to like me, to take notice of me. So I used to tease this other kid with him. We would push him a little bit in line, and I don't know, throw things at him and just call him names, tease him for being gay. And honestly, I don't know that we really even knew whether he was or not.
He struggled with self-confidence a little bit. He had horrible handwriting, bless him, because his little brain just worked so fast that he couldn't write. But he started complaining, Mom, I'm tired of people telling me that I'm gay because I like My Little Pony. I'm tired of people picking on me because I'm short.
There was this one bad guy, his name was Stinkor. And his power was he stunk. And that's what my nickname was from kindergarten probably till about middle school sometime.
I think I had tried to instill in him a handle-it-yourself attitude.
Just me liking this boy was honestly the only reason why I probably teased this other boy, because I know, I was dealing with my own battles inside with, knowing that I liked boys myself. And I think it was maybe easier to kind of hurt someone else to make myself feel better.
I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't into sports. I wasn't into any of those things. And being effeminate and the other boys just made it very uncomfortable for you to want to be in the locker room. So it made me an easy target to bully in the locker room.
Everywhere I got, people called it. They would write, when we would exchange our papers to grade each other's papers, they would write Stinker on my paper.
I was still trying to let him figure it out on his own. I was trying to balance work and home and 3 kids and a new marriage, and none of those things are reasons or excuses. They are just facts of the time of what I was using to be like, well, Michael can handle this. I've taught him how to deal with this.
When we would go out to recess, I would use it to my advantage because they would play and I go, look, I'm Stinker, I'm here, I'm going to win the battle because I stink. Trying trying to at least own it, I guess.
On the bus, they would sit behind me and put me and my father down for the type of car that we had versus the type of car they had. And
from kindergarten through 12th grade, I never had one person that wasn't related to me come to my house to visit or spend the night or hang out. And I was never invited to anyone else's house to visit or hang out or spend the night for 13 years of school.
It happened so fast. I can't even tell you how many there were or what had happened. I just remember walking and then a sharp pain to my face, just then being attacked. My cheekbone was cracked and fractured.
Michael got really, really upset when my youngest son knocked over an empty cup and it just kind of splattered a little remnant of juice on his homework. And, it was okay, you know what, Michael, you need to go to your room. Go calm down. And so I had left Michael. I said, you know what, you hang out in here, you get it together. And I just kind of let him take some downtime. Michael had a tendency when he got angry to slam doors. So I heard something slam, and I about went back there and fussed at him for slamming a door. But I said, he only slammed it once. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. And so I just kind of ignored it. And I wish I hadn't. Because in retrospect, that was when his bunk bed hit the wall from where he had hung himself.
You tack on the last name, you tack on the fact that I had accidents at school, and you tack on the fact that I was not your normal kid. I had people that made my life a living hell most of my childhood.
I don't like meeting new people. I don't like being in large crowds. I don't like being looked at sometimes because I feel like I'm being judged. It's hard for me to trust people now. That's things that I have to work through.
I'm kind of obsessive about being clean now, because I don't want to smell and I don't want people to think I smelled.
He's stuck in his body and he can't be him. And I often wonder if that is not worse than him having succeeded. And then I remind myself that my kid is a fighter, even when he didn't think he was. And that there are so many people in this world that are fighting for him and for other kids out there. That there's a reason, and I don't know what that reason is, but it's my job to give it a reason, to do something good.
I think the most heartbreaking thing about bullying as a teacher is that I only can do so much. As an educator, I can do everything in my power and, aware my teammates what's going on, but we can only handle what's going on at school.
The most heartbreaking aspect of bullying for me is knowing that no matter how many times I tell the students that it's going to get better, they don't believe me.
I think the most heartbreaking thing is that somebody could have done something to stop that. A teacher could have seen what was going on if they paid more attention to their class and put an end to it. The parent could have realized that this was going on and put up more of a fight to make sure that this stopped at school. And also, maybe us as adults could have made sure that the child had the confidence to speak up themselves as well.
I think the biggest gaps I see in our generation versus the generation I'm teaching is technology. They are way more connected than I think I ever was.
I think that social media has changed the way bullying happens. When I was little and I was being bullied at school, when I left school, I didn't deal with it anymore until the next day. These kids, they go home, it follows them in their pocket everywhere they're going. It's opened up the doors to make bullying a 24-hour job.
If you look at our handbook, it just says that they may be suspended the first time. The second time it says they may be suspended for up to 10 days. And then the third infraction, again, just says they may be suspended and or authorities called. It's all very passive language. There's no clear, definitive, this is what's going to happen if you continue to be a bully.
I spend most of my day around Hispanic students. That's all I actually really teach. And they tell me stories of people constantly talking to them about their immigration status, or talking to them about why you have to speak Spanish. Why can't you speak English? This is America. Why did you come to my country? Why are you taking my jobs? And a lot of my kids were born here. And you'll find several students who refuse to speak Spanish because they don't want to be picked on by their classmates, even in Spanish class, where they're all Hispanic and all speak Spanish anyway.
The problem is that people think it's the schools, and sometimes it's not. It's the law. For example, if a child is labeled with any academic issues, or even if we suspect that they might. So like if I think a child has a learning disability of any kind or an academic issue of any kind, and I have informed the office of this, that child is now labeled. And once a child is labeled, the law restricts us from being able to do certain things. So if the child is labeled and a bully, then we're limited with what else we can do because they're protected by the federal government.
I am pretty sure that the school has a zero tolerance for bullying policy. I've just never actually seen that policy in writing, and I've never had anyone hand this to me and say, this is what our policy is. And I've been at this school for 4 years now.
With Michael, I don't blame myself for what he did. Even at 11, he knew what he was trying to do. And do I hate that he got to that point? Of course I do. If I could reverse it, absolutely. But as a parent, there's a sense of responsibility for what he did because I wasn't as involved as I should have been. And had I been, maybe there would be a different outcome. And if parents can get involved and schools can get involved and we can hold ourselves and each other and our children accountable and responsible, then I think social media can change the way bullying is. I think it can be a tool to help others and not be a detriment.
I would love to tell victims of bullying to not keep it to yourself. You need to speak to somebody. As hard as it is, you do have an ally out there. There is someone out there who cares enough about you to help you out, be it your best friend, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. You're not alone, and there is someone out there who will be there for you. Don't keep it to yourself, because it's going to fester and fester until you can't control it anymore.
My advice to students who are being bullied would be to don't internalize it, because it leaves internal scars. Just because the bullying isn't physical doesn't mean there aren't scars. Find a safe adult and fill them in. Let them know. Let them help you.
If the right people know about what's going on, then they will put a stop to it. The only struggle is trying to find the right person to know about it. And that means yelling at the top of your lungs, metaphorically, until someone hears what's going on.
If I were to give advice to one of my students who was being bullied, first of all, I think I just want to give them a big hug and let them know that I see them, I hear them, and to let them know, like, hey, like, I'm in your boat with you, I'm here with you, I hear you. And I guess the best advice I would have for them is to just always be talking to an adult or a peer if something's going on.
We've lost that sense of it takes a village or a community to raise our children. Do I think teachers should be responsible 100% for our kids? No. But are they an integral part of them being brought up in society and being raised? Absolutely. They're almost like a second parent.
I'm a little unclear of what policies are in place at my school to prevent bullying. However, I do think school-wide we are really focused on community, and we have something at our school called morning meetings. So every morning before you start your work, you sit in a circle, you do a meet and greet, and then you do an activity, and then you might get to share like what you did that weekend or what you have coming up. And I think it's just a really great way for the classroom itself to kind of be able to talk to each other, engage with each other, as the teacher monitors it and throughout the year, I think it just does a really good job of teaching kids how to treat each other.
The policies that are in place for anti-bullying for students are paperweight, when what they really need to do is be way more involved. A bus driver, one adult on a bus of anywhere between 60 and 100 kids, and she's responsible for making sure they stay in line. Well, how can she do that and safely drive our children? That's not fair. One teacher in a classroom of 30 to 40 kids. That's not fair.
Those anchor teachers inspired me, and I felt at home, and I wanted to do that for children. So I became an elementary school teacher, and I strive to make my classroom welcoming to everyone in the building, not just my students.
I had many amazing teachers, a lot of whom I still keep up with today, and they follow me and figure out what I'm doing with my life. As a teacher, I try to emulate what the skills they taught me, be it the nurturing skills or the academic skills or just the genuinely be the person you are.
I had to come to terms and accept that the why and I'll never know the why, and at some point I have to quit letting it be important and just worry about where are we at now and what can we do to help someone else. If he can help one person through this, it doesn't make it worth it, but at least gives it value.